Hello friends, welcome again to my YouTube channel where I share interesting ideas and novel way of doing things. Some of them you might think are quite crazy, but anyway, I enjoy trying to improve on things and not have to buy a lot of expensive equipment. So anyway, in the last video, if you had an hour to spare, you weren't doing anything, you watched how we make one of these. So I've got 3 of them here, and I've got 3 different methods to produce that project out of a cube of wood. My main concern originally was spinning this kitty corner is how to hold that safely. And the first one that I came up with, as you've already seen, is this device here, which fits into your number 2 Morse taper on your headstock, and then using a hole saw to grip that. That was great. I really liked that idea. It was, to me, it was safe. And then in the other video I made this little driver here with that can be put into your chuck, the standard metal woodworking lathe chuck. And then I drilled a hole, filled it with epoxy, and pushed it in there, and it gave a nice 3-cornered driver. And that worked very successful, and I've made several of them with that thing. And then after I got that done, I mentioned at the end that I come up with another idea. So I'm going to show you that today. And of these 2 here, which would you think would be the best and the safest? Well, as I've already mentioned, I think it's the one with the hole saw. So now I'm going to make a device or a simple little adapter where we can use the hole saws on your regular wood lathe without not having to go to the Morse taper attachment there where it has to be laid down and threaded for that. So maybe you've already figured out what I'm going to do. But in that video I mentioned that I was going to make another one. Someone said, well, yeah, another one. Maybe you could use dowels. And I thought quite a while on that, and I thought, well, that may not be too strong. Dowels may break, and then how are you going to attach them, where they put at an angle to match those surfaces or whatever. So I don't think I'm even going to try that. I'm going to show you something else that I think is much better. And even if you did use those dowels idea, I think you'd have to use steel dowels. That would probably work. But anyway, I've got enough methods here to keep me busy for quite a while. So anyway, what we're going to do here is we're going to use a standard 5/8 bolt here. I had bought one a while ago for a project, but never got it done. And it's actually a little longer than what I would want. But and that will, the hole saw screw right onto that. So what you do is you start with a block of wood, and then I went corner to corner to make a circle on there, and then of course I'm going to round it out and I'm going to mount this on the lathe. So you do that, that's your first step, but you got to have a block of wood that's, so when you put your bolt on it, such as this, the bolt's going to inset into there, and then it's about the length of this, and we want about 1/2 inch, at least 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch sticking out. So then I put a line on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to cut that off for my length, and then I'm going to make the round part, and I'm going to drill a hole in there so we can attach it to a chuck, similar that I did that other thing, and then there. So I'm going to go ahead, round this out, drill a hole, put it on my chuck, and we'll be ready to do the next step there. Okay, it wasn't that fast. I've got it mounted on the chuck already, and I've taken down the outside to make it nice and round. I put 2 lines on here. One is for the depth, because I want to mount this onto this chuck, using this one with a little longer jaws on here. And I've set my calipers for the right diameter, and then I stuck it on here so it was equal distance from the side, and with a pencil mark, and then turned it on to make a line. I want to bring it down to that diameter and that depth. It kind of takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it there, but some of you are so good you don't need any lines. Well, that's good. So now I'm just going to part this off with my butcher knife. Put a little, part that right there with my butcher knife parting tool. It works fantastic. And then bring that down to the diameter there. So we'll just do a couple cuts here. That's kind of nice. I was looking through the crack here, and I could see light on this side, and I just lined it up to the black line I have over here. So that was a simple bonus way to do it. And you could use your regular parting tool there too, of course. And the line on there, so I'll just bring it down just about the line. Okay. Now I'll take my caliper. I usually like to leave it a little bit bigger, then I can adjust it down to the right size there. So I'll just go ahead and bring that down to the so it slips on just nice. Okay, I've got that down to the right diameter there, and this chuck just will slip on there. And just as a reminder, you want to, very important to bring this down so it there's very little gap in here, so it grips all the way around, and not just on these little on the little points here. Okay, well, I'm going to go over to my metal lathe to drill this hole, because as I've mentioned, this lathe is not accurate. We want this to be quite accurate. I could take it down to my lathe downstairs, but I'd have to drag everything down there, so I hope you don't mind me just drilling this hole on my more accurate metal lathe. Okay, well, we're ready for drilling the hole. Now you have to decide on what size of hole. Since we're using this bolt here, we want to drill a hole that we can push that hexagonal shape into. And the first one I tried, I measured like across the flat parts here and drilled my hole that size, and then took it into and then the 5/8 hole, of course, for the bolt. And then I took a hammer and banged it down onto there, and then chiseled out to make it a hexagon shape. And you can see it in this one here. And that was a complete disaster. It was just a miserable job doing that. And you don't need that much grip. So I thought, well, drill a bigger hole. So now I measured across the points here on here, and I found out it was just a little over 1 inch. So I tried that method there, and that was a lot more successful. So we're going to choose a 1-inch Forester bit, and because the Forester bit's quite short, and it's a lot stiffer, and we want a kind of a flat bottom hole anyway. I don't recommend you using a regular drill. And I'm even going to use the 5/8 Forester bit to make the 5/8 hole for the bolt shaft too. So that's the story on that. So it's just a matter now of drilling the hole. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, here's the first hole. We're going to drill it down pretty well, the full depth there. We'll stop just a little bit back. So check your bolt on there and you can see where you have to stop. So we'll just go ahead and do that. That should be good right there. Okay, so we've got that done. Now we're going to have to put this in the other chuck to drill from the other side, but just for accuracy, I want to drill down here a little bit with this one here. Now our bolt probably comes up to about there, so you don't want to go down to the bolt. That little screw that was in the chuck here to hold that. I did that on the first one I did, and I drilled down there and I thought, well, that's funny, how come it's hitting metal? But that was with a regular bit, not the Forester bit. And oh, that's the bolt. There's this one here, it doesn't exhaust, so you have to take it in and out. These will plug up here. Okay, that should be far enough. So we'll just take this off and mount it up in the other chuck. Okay, so we'll just continue this and drill through to the other, meets the other side there. Finally started using my head, and it was a lot easier just to pull the tailstock back than it was to wind it all the way back, and then you could get it farther away, so your fingers weren't so close. So what's the next step? Well, I'd say we're pretty well done, but I'm going to take it over to the wood lathe and shape this a little better, and then we'll pop the bolt in. Well, that spins really nice and true here, so it should be a good adapter there. And now I'm just going to taper this down here so it's not quite so square. So that'll only take a second, and we'll be ready to put the bolt in. And that's all there is to it. Okay, I've marked it with a felt pen so I can always put it back in the same position. I don't know, it shouldn't be that important, but you know, take the precaution anyway. Okay, here's our adapter all made, ready to put our bolt in there. So we just put that through the hole, and I've taken a hammer on the other one that I did and just put it over a hole in my workbench and hit it with a hammer, and that's worked okay. I thought maybe I'd do something a little more scientific this time and use the vise and actually press it in. Maybe that's a more intelligent thing to do, I don't know. But that'll just slip right in there till it bottoms out, and that's slick as could be. It just goes into those little tips there, and no, you'll never turn that in there. You could take epoxy or something and, you know, put down those little holes there if you were really scared about it. Now we just have to choose a hole saw. Well, here's one here that's bigger than what I used before. I think the next size bigger, but it's kind of ugly. It's been used before. So we'll go I'm going to try this 2 1/8. It's only been used a little bit, and you just screw that on there, and I think it's wise to use a little bigger one, and then it fits up tight on the surface here. You can see that sticks actually a little bit over. That other one would have been just about right on there, but now we'll mount this up on the lathe. You can see down in there that's threaded up nicely. And we'll see if it works, I guess. Okay, there we have the hole saw set up, mounted on a regular chuck. And we've got a fairly good size one this time. That's going to hold it really good. It spins nice and true. I even remembered to line up those little marks that I put on there. That's amazing. There we go. Okay, let's mount a block of wood in there. So I just have to reach over you here to do that. Cinch that up nice and tight so the teeth grip right into here. You kind of have to get it centered. You can just kind of look at these gaps here and see if they're all the same. And that's not too bad there. You could actually even count the teeth if you really wanted to get scientific on each side. But and that's not going to fly out of here. I guarantee you that. It's not going to slip. It's not going to kill you. The only thing that's not as good is this end, but I could make a bigger one, and that goes with a larger piece of metal or something and comes up here even closer on here, and it may be a little safer, but that's you're not going to pull that out of there either. So that's a 1-inch hole compared to a small one there. And if this was a little more accurate, it would spin. Looking down at these points here, they were pretty well right on. I wasn't getting any deviation there at all on that, so I probably got it set up right this time. But anyway, yeah, great. Come back here, say goodbye. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope at least one of you try this super little adapter there. I'm kind of excited about it. If you want to see how to lathe one of those three-cornered lotus flower type things, you have to go back to my other video, or maybe you could convince Cade Bolger to do another online demonstration. He does fantastic work, and he may do it a little different than I have, but anyway, I've tried to, I really enjoyed this project, and tried to get some different methods to lathe it. So thanks again for watching, and yeah, you might subscribe, or I might come up with something again that mind-blowing. But yeah, this is kind of one of my shorter videos, and maybe I'll come up with another short one that won't bore you to death. Anyway, see you another day. Yeah, I've got another thing in my mind here, probably one of the next one, and that's got to do with a jig for sharpening lathe tools here that doesn't cost a fortune. Maybe $1 or $2. That should fit your budget. Bye.